everybody. How are you? I hope you're doing well. I hope that you've had a wonderful, amazing day. My name is Shari, and I am the executive director for Hope First Inc. And so, most of you probably have seen that our conference is coming up in December. Yes, December the 27th through the 29th. And so, I want you all to be there. And so, I've been making phone calls and talking to pastors and leaders and really trying to kind of get a pulse of our community and what's going on in our community and how we can service our churches and our youth and our pastors and do it in a way that will kind of stand up to our name, which is helping others pursue excellence. And so in a few of my conversations, what I'm learning is that a lot of our churches are rebuilding. They're in a process of rebuilding their youth department, rebuilding their ministry, if you will, because just like Hope, the pandemic kind of shut us all down. So we haven't had a conference since 2019. We did virtual. So this is our very first in-person conference that we've had since 2019. And so we are rebuilding as well. And we have a lot of great things in store. I want to shout out our president, Brother Daryl, and also Sonia and Jonathan, who have been working with me hand in hand to prepare what I believe is going to be one of the best Hope conferences of the year or of the 2020 years. And so, but with my conversations with the pastors, I'm really concerned because, we're rebuilding. And so I was like, I think I have an idea. I think I want to bring someone in that I know that is an expert in the area. And so, as I was doing my research, though, before I bring him on, I did want to share this quote with you guys. It shows that research shows that loneliness is as bad for a person's health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And I feel that what the pandemic did was it kind of allowed us to kind of be okay with being by ourselves and not really concerned so much about community. And so, of course, it's okay for me to be by myself. But the research shows that loneliness is it's bad for a person's health. And so just imagine if it's bad for an adult's health, how our children are also being affected by loneliness and isolation. And so I wanted us to have a real conversation and kind of come up with ways of maybe being able to help our pastors and help our leaders and really kind of bring our young people back into the house, bring them back to a place of being excited about being in the presence of God and just fellowshipping and having community. Because I grew up with Hope, and so I remember I couldn't wait to go to the conference. I couldn't wait to see my friends. I couldn't wait for just to be a part of the whole thing. And so I'm going to bring on who I feel is the perfect person to kind of have the conversation about how to rebuild our youth ministries and how to get our young people back into the house. His name is Pastor Jose Rodriguez, and he is over a organization slash ministry called Rescue a Generation. I'm going to let him introduce himself because you know what, Pastor Jose, sometimes people need you to kind of brag on God, brag on the God in you so they can believe that you know what you're talking about. So I
Sure.
want you just for a moment to brag on God about how God has worked through you to help rescue a generation.
No problem. Thanks, Pastor Cherie. Yeah, excited to be in this conversation with you. And really, I am beyond the stats, and they are fairly alarming. I'm excited about what God's doing in this generation currently because He is at work. And so that's the
Yeah.
good news. But really, for the last 20 years, I have committed myself and devoted myself to going after a generation who was kind of coined and deemed as lost. There's stats that say back in 2018 that 4% of Gen Z have a biblical worldview. And so 4% of this generation see life through the lens of scripture, which then tells me that we got some real work to do. And
Yes.
some of my
Yes.
challenge with that 4% number was I felt like in the church world that I was living in, we got really good at recycling that 4%. So we were really good at reaching the found and not as good at reaching the lost. And so I
That's
was like,
good.
how do we go after kids who are really far from God, who were struggling, who would not walk into a church. And so we did. We created an organization called Rescue a Generation that's all about reaching kids who are in the trenches and the margins, who are really struggling for all types of reasons. We work primarily on school campuses. We've trained in conferences all around the country, but really helping youth workers and youth pastors understand what it takes to go after kids who are really struggling. And so we're currently in 29 schools. We have over 2,000
Awesome.
kids going through our 10-week program every single year. And it's funny because as a youth pastor, I couldn't get more than about 50 kids in my youth group, which 50 was a good number,
Yeah.
but I wanted more, right? I was like, oh,
Hmm.
how do we get the more kids here? But what happened was I couldn't get more than 50 to come to me. But when I went to them, we now are seeing over 2,000 kids on a weekly basis.
Awesome.
And so, really, like, I think that has to be the approach of the church, the Big C church in this generation is how do we go to where they are
Yeah.
and earn the right to invite them back to us? And
Mm.
that earn the right is really important because I think sometimes we go in there very arrogant,
Mm-hmm.
very haughty, very,
Mm-hmm.
we know this, you don't. So you have to listen to us and our message and our, and unfortunately, this generation, they are going to push back and they're going to ask questions and they're not going to, do it just because you say to do it. And if you're not equipped with tools to handle that, you can find yourself in a lot of challenges. So, anyways, in a nutshell, we've been doing this for a long time, and we have a really great team around us. Me and my wife get a chance to lead, and God's been really good to us. And so, yeah, doing some great things.
I love that. I absolutely love the earn the right because they're watching us, Pastor Jose.
Absolutely.
They're watching us and they're watching whether what we say matches what we do in
Yep.
our lives. And I'm not going, I'm all I'm going to say is I praise God for my parents who said they love God and went to church and loved God and came home and loved God.
Yeah.
And so I never saw something different. And so earning the right really means I'm wearing the name of a believer and I'm walking the walk of a believer as well. And
Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I just saw a stat recently that talks about institutional trust and being able to trust the institution of the church is at an all-time low right now. And so,
Mm,
really, when you talk about reestablishing trust, you
yeah.
do that through consistency, through integrity,
Mhm,
and through presence. And so
mm,
one of my thoughts for pastors all over the place is how do we emphasize presence over programs? Because I think
mm,
it's easy to create a program, it's easy to do a men's night or a youth night, but really what kids need, they don't need their night, they need the presence of loving adults that are showing them the way to follow Christ. And that is discipleship in its very essence. And so to me, methods and stuff always changes, but there's one method that has never changed since the beginning of like scripture, and it's discipleship. It's the
mm,
proven method that works across the board. And when you look at discipleship, the hard part is that even Jesus, he lost one too, right? Like, and
mhm.
so he was a great. I always like to this analogy with Jesus. Say he was a great youth pastor.
Oh,
11 of his kids stuck and one of them
11
didn't,
to 6.
right? And it's a part of life, but the presence of a loving adult in the life of a kid still matters. It still works. If we only are in their life because of the program, we're going to miss the kid. But if
Mm,
we're in their
mhm.
life to be in their life and a program is a part of it, that's a whole different conversation. So I'm not saying you can't do programs, but you
Right.
got to emphasize presence over programs because especially with this generation, they're looking for adults they can trust, especially with the institutional trust being at an all-time low right now.
Yeah, I love that. So basically, we have to show them that we care.
Absolutely.
One of the things, so for those that have been attending Hope for a long time, they know that we do have a program and we have a program that's worked. And one of the things that the Lord has really burdened within me is really kind of pushing the children even further. Not just us preaching and teaching them, but also allowing them the opportunity to be able to express themselves even during the class, in the class setting. And so
Great.
we kind of switched that up, even what the class settings are going to look like this year and moving forward, to more of a small group than a class. I mean, they go to school all week, all year long, right?
Yeah.
They're in school. They're constantly being
Yep.
talked to. And I can't help but think back how, when I was a teenager feeling like I was going through something, and the adult saying, "Ah, you're fine. Just wait till you get older." Kind of
Yeah.
brushing off what I'm going through. But no, I'm genuinely going through my 16-year-old problem. I don't even want to say my little 16-year-old problem. It's to me a huge problem. It's to me
Absolutely.
huge. And so for then to be brushed off as if, girl, just wait till you turn 20, 23, 26, 30. Wait till you get to your 50s. To kind of brush it off, it's almost like what I'm going through doesn't really matter.
Yep.
And so we've changed up the program of even what hope is going to look like moving forward. I don't want to give too much because I want y'all to be surprised and I want y'all to come.
Sure.
But we've switched it up. But in that conversation with the pastor in particular, Pastor Jose, who is saying, I want to build, I'm really now just building my youth ministry. I feel like with us being Hope, which is helping others pursue excellence, I feel like we should provide them with something, with some tools maybe, to even help them along the way. And so you were the guy for the job.
Yeah, it's really excited for that. Honestly, any way that we can support the local church
Yeah.
in a way that helps to build and go after and to rescue a generation
Hmm.
who are drowning in a world of challenges. And so, any way that we can be a part of that, I'm excited for that. Looking forward to doing some training with some pastors and leaders
Yes.
around how to go after young people in a real way.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, I think the stats are alarming. Like the 4% is one of them. There's another stat that
Yes.
says 1 million young people are leaving the church every year.
Mm.
Like those are really alarming. But I think when 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 the church awakens
Yes.
to what God is trying to do in this generation, and not just keep it how it's been because that's how it's been, but
Right.
what is God trying to do? A generation that's drowning is always looking for a safe haven or an ark, right, that they can sit
Yeah.
in and be safe in. And honestly, I think that's what the church is called to be. How do we build arks for floods that are
Mm.
coming
Come on.
so people can come
Yes.
when life is crazy? And so
Yeah.
excited to be able to walk alongside some pastors and help them to process through yeah, how do you go after young people who are
Yeah.
really drowning right now?
I love that. So you and I looked at our calendars, and so we're thinking about doing a Zoom on the 14th of November for our pastors. And this is actually open to any pastors and leaders, even if you're like, I'm not going to do Hope. I don't know about Hope. We're so concerned about what you just said, the 4% and everything else, that we want to offer the tools
Yeah,
that all pastors can use so that we can genuinely give them hope and rescue that generation. You like how I do that?
absolutely, absolutely.
Give them hope and
Yeah,
rescue the generation. So we're going to do. Pastor Jose has agreed to lead a training session with pastors and leaders on the 14th of November, which is, what is that? 2 weeks? 2 weeks from now? Well,
yeah.
depending on whenever you're looking at it, it's a Thursday. Did we say a time?
um
We
no, I
did
don't
not.
think so.
Is 7 o'clock okay?
Sure,
Okay, there
let's
it
do
is. 7 o'clock. See, we do it on the spot right here.
it.
So at 7 o'clock on November the 14th, we're calling for all pastors. You don't have to be a part of Hope. You don't even have to live in Los Angeles. We have to save our young people, you all. We have to save them from themselves and save them from the world. We have to show them that we care. And I feel like this is a perfect segue and a perfect beginning of something that I believe is going to really help us get our young people to the next level. And
Yeah,
then That'll be part one, and then part two, during the conference, Pastor Jose is also going to do some additional trainings with our chaperones and pastors and leaders on site. So we're serious about this. I'm serious about making sure, and I don't want to get emotional, but making sure that our young people are okay, you know, showing them and giving them Jesus, and not in a way that lets them know that he loves them so much, and there's so much for them, and God has so much that he wants them to do. Our young people just need to believe that somebody cares.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, yeah, you said it really well. You're right. All they need is a loving adult
Yeah.
who really does care, that's willing to walk alongside them. And yeah, whatever tools we have, I'm happy to help with
Thank
and
you.
help to train some leaders. And looking forward to both of these sessions. I think they're going to be really powerful.
I believe so too. So do me a favor, go to www.hopefirstinc.org. You can register for the training session on the 14th on that at the website, and we'll make sure that you get all the information that you need. Also, listen, I can't not invite you to be a part of Hope First, our 21st annual youth conference, which will be December the 27th through the 29th. Pastor Jose will be there. We have a whole lot of other different exciting guests that will be giving as the weeks go by. But for me right now, this is very important, making sure that our pastors and our leaders have the tools that they need in order to be able to offer hope and rescue this generation. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Pastor Jose. Did you want to say anything else before I let you go?
No, I'm really excited for it. Meet us November 14th and then
Yeah.
meet us at the Hope Youth Conference. Is going to be awesome.
Yep. Okay. Well, listen, you all, thank you all so much for your time and your attention. Again, www.hopefirstinc.org. Go ahead and register for the session with Pastor Jose. And then also go ahead and register for the Hope Conference in December. Love you all so much. Thank you, Pastor Jose. And you all
Very much.
have a wonderful day. Bye bye.